What if an elderly woman walked into a college classroom and solved a math equation that no one else on earth could crack? What if the arrogant professor who mocked her was left completely speechless by what she revealed? This is not just a story about numbers. It is a story about forgotten genius, buried truth, and a hidden revolution unfolding in silence. Because what happened next, after she walked out of that room, changed everything. A mystery no university could explain. A network no government could trace. And a legacy more powerful than anyone ever expected. You will not believe where this story leads. Watch till the end. And discover the mind the world tried to erase, but could never silence. It was just another cold Monday morning at Ridgeway Community College in upstate New York. The campus was quiet. Too quiet. Professor Martin Dale, known for his strict discipline and arrogant lectures, adjusted his tie as he stepped into the lecture hall. He was not expecting anyone new. Especially not her. She walked in slowly, her silver hair tucked beneath a wool hat. Her coat was old. Faded. Buttons mismatched. Students turned their heads. Whispers rippled through the room. Who is she? Is she lost? She must be somebody's grandma. But she ignored the murmurs. She looked straight ahead. Unbothered. Eyes steady. Steps slow. Purposeful. She sat in the front row. Took out a worn leather notebook. And waited. Professor Dale paused. He scanned the room. Then looked at her. Confused. Then annoyed. This is advanced theoretical mathematics, he said, his voice sharp. You must be in the wrong room. She smiled gently. I am exactly where I need to be. The class laughed. Dale forced a smile. But his pride prickled. He hated being challenged. Especially in front of his students. Especially by someone like her. He approached the board. Picked up a marker. If you are exactly where you need to be, he said slowly. Then solve this. He began scribbling furiously. The board filled with symbols, variables, long integrals, and abstract algebraic loops. It looked more like a foreign language than a math problem. Gasps echoed. Even his best students looked puzzled. He capped the marker. Turned around. Smug. This equation, he said, was developed during my research at MIT. No one in this room has solved it. Not even me. Silence. The woman blinked once. Then reached for her notebook. Opened it. She stood up. Walked to the board. Her fingers trembled slightly, not from fear, but age. Still, her grip on the marker was steady. The students watched. Phones out. Recording. She started writing. No hesitation. No second guessing. Symbols flowed from her hand like music. Her steps were small, but her mind moved with ferocity. Dale's smile faded. He leaned forward. Line by line. The equation unraveled. She paused. Added a final symbol. Then turned around. There, she said softly. That should do it. Gasps. Dale rushed to the board. Eyes darting. Mouth slightly open. He stepped back. Then looked at her. Then at the board. Then back again. This is not possible, he muttered. This is not even published math. This is original. The woman only smiled. Who are you? He asked. She picked up her coat. I am no one, she said. Just someone who used to teach before you were born. He stepped forward. You were a professor? I was, she nodded. Until someone decided I was too old for the job. Dale's jaw tightened. His pride shattered. She walked toward the door. Students moved out of her way, their phones still recording. One student whispered. She just solved what MIT could not. Another said. She is a ghost from history. But no one stopped her. They watched in stunned silence as she disappeared down the hall. Dale sat down. He stared at the board. For the first time in years. He was speechless. But as he stared, something else caught his eye. Tiny writing. Tucked beneath the final line. A signature. Dr. Eleanor R. Vale, 1967 Fields Medal nominee. His heart sank. He remembered the name. The woman who vanished from the academic world decades ago. Rumors said she disappeared after being forced out. Now here she was. In his classroom. Making him the lesson. But he did not know that her return was only the beginning. The video of her solving the equation spread across campus before noon. By evening, it hit social media. Within hours, it went viral. Millions watched as the old woman, calm and deliberate, shattered a wall of math no one dared touch. Comments flooded in. Who is she? She is a legend. She made that arrogant professor look like a toddler. Bring her back. But she was gone. No trace. No address. No contact information. Nothing. Professor Dale sat in his office late that night. Staring at the board. Still trying to understand. Not the math. The humiliation. His pride, once unshakable, now cracked wide open. He kept seeing her face. Her calm eyes. Her confident hands. He looked her up. Dr. Eleanor R. Vale. A prodigy. One of the youngest ever nominated for the Fields Medal. But in 1969, she disappeared from the academic world. No explanation. No scandal. Just silence. Some said she was blacklisted. Others said she simply walked away. One article mentioned a bitter dispute over academic credit. A male colleague took her work. Claimed it. Won the prize. She was never seen again. Until now. And suddenly, Dale felt something he never thought he could. Guilt. He had treated her like a joke. A nuisance. And she had responded with brilliance. Humility. Grace. The next day, he stood in front of his students. He looked different. Smaller. Softer. I owe someone an apology, he began. But she is not here. He paused. Then erased the board. We will not have class today. Instead, I want you to think about something. He turned to face them. What does it mean to be truly educated? No one answered. Because they all knew. They had already seen the answer. 3 weeks passed. Rumors continued. Some students claimed they saw her walking in the library at night. Others said she left a notebook at the math department door. Filled with theories no one had ever seen. One janitor swore she left a letter in Dale's office. But Dale never spoke of it. Until the university's spring conference. He took the stage. And for the first time in years, he did not present his own work. Instead, he held up a worn, leather-bound notebook. This, he said, is the work of Dr. Eleanor Vale. It was never published. Never acknowledged. Until now. He opened the book. And today, it will be. The audience gasped. Mathematicians leaned forward. A silence fell like snow. The formulas were elegant. Brilliant. Years ahead of their time. The conference turned into a tribute. Not to Dale. But to her. And yet, she never appeared. But something strange began to happen. Letters. Handwritten pages. Left at university doors across the country. From Seattle to Chicago. From Austin to Boston. Each one with elegant equations. Solutions to problems thought unsolvable. Signed. Of. The academic world trembled. Professors questioned their knowledge. Students felt inspired. And in dark corners of forgotten lecture halls, people started whispering. She is watching. She is correcting. She is teaching again. And one rainy night, in a quiet diner on the edge of town, a young woman sat with her laptop. She was stuck on a graduate math problem. Frustrated, she looked up. And there she was. The same silver hair. Same warm eyes. Sipping black coffee. The young woman gasped. Are you? The woman nodded. Finish your equation, she said, smiling softly. You are closer than you think. Then she left. Without another word. Leaving behind a napkin. Covered in ink. And the missing variable. Back at Ridgeway College, Professor Dale kept one chair in the front row empty. Every class. Just in case. Because some geniuses never vanish. They just wait for the world to catch up. To be continued. Continue where you stop the story. One chilly autumn morning, the campus buzzed with an unusual energy. Word had spread. The dean had announced a special guest speaker. A mystery mind, reshaping the world of mathematics from the shadows. No name. No face. Just initials, ERV. Rumors exploded. She is finally coming back. Is it really her? She must be over 80 now. She is more legend than person. Professor Dale sat in the second row. Uncomfortable. Hopeful. The stage remained empty. Only a single spotlight illuminated the podium. And a chair. Vacant. The murmurs grew louder. Then, a student noticed something. The projector was on. A file opened. Real-time handwriting appeared on the screen. The same script. Delicate, precise. Equations unfolded line by line. Elegant. Terrifying. Beautiful. No one dared speak. They just watched. Then, a voice. Clear, calm, slightly raspy with age. Began to speak through the auditorium speakers. Good morning. Gasps rippled through the crowd. People turned, searching for the source. But there was no one. Just the voice. I will not show my face, it said. I have learned the cost of being seen too early. Or too loud. But I will teach you. If you are willing to learn. Professor Dale sat frozen. It was her. Undeniably her. My name is Eleanor R. Vale. And I do not need a stage to be heard. A pause. You may know me from an equation a few weeks ago. But that was only the beginning. Today, we will begin with something harder. The board filled again. A problem appeared. One no one in the room recognized. Not from textbooks. Not from history. It was new. Do not try to memorize it, her voice echoed. Understand it. Pens began scribbling. Keyboards clicked. Some students looked lost. Others, wide-eyed, exhilarated. For the next hour, she spoke. Not just about numbers. But about loss. About exclusion. About being erased from a field she loved more than life itself. They told me I was too young. Then too old. Then too female. Then too forgotten. But I never stopped thinking. Never stopped solving. Never stopped teaching. Silence. Then her voice softened. You may forget me again. That is fine. Just do not forget what I leave behind. The projector blinked. Then displayed a final line. Truth does not need permission. And just like that, she was gone. No trace. No signal. No files remained. Only the math. But the world did not forget this time. The media covered it. Universities formed working groups to decode her formulas. A new research foundation emerged. The Vale Initiative. Its mission? To uncover lost voices. Unrecognized minds. Hidden brilliance. And at the center of it all. A mystery. Who was helping her? Where was she sending the equations from? How did she know what every institution needed, just before they asked? Then, one day, a private package arrived at Ridgway's math department. No return address. Just the initials. Of. Inside was a flash drive. And a note. Some of these were written during the cold nights in 1971, when I thought I would never be heard again. Now you will hear them all. Professor Dale held the drive in shaking hands. His eyes misted. He inserted it into his laptop. Folders opened. Dozens. Hundreds. Proofs. Theories. Models. Ideas ahead of their time. Ideas that could change everything. He leaned back in his chair. Smiled. She was never looking for revenge. Only recognition. Only truth. And now, the world was listening. But somewhere, far from the cameras and universities, a small house stood on a hill. Inside, a fire crackled. Books lined every wall. Chalkboards filled with swirling numbers. And in a corner, a woman sat at a desk. Still writing. Still solving. Still teaching. Because some legends do not need applause. They only need silence. And space to breathe brilliance. Snow began to fall across the quiet town of Ashridge, deep in the New Hampshire countryside. No one knew she lived there. Not the neighbors. Not the mailman. Not even the power company. Her house had been off-grid for years. A stone cottage. Hidden by tall pines and wrapped in ivy. Unassuming. Like her. Inside, a soft lamp flickered. A kettle steamed gently on the stove. Stacks of notebooks towered around the room, each filled with equations, theories, and thoughts never shared. And at the center of it all sat Eleanor Arvale. Eyes focused. Pencil gliding. She paused. Looked out the frost-covered window. A figure stood at the edge of the trees. Motionless. Watching. Her heartbeat slowed. Then quickened. She stood. Wrapped her shawl tightly. And stepped outside into the cold. Crunching snow underfoot. Each step cautious. Each breath visible in the frigid air. The figure did not move. As she drew closer, she saw it was a young man. No older than 25. Shivering. Holding something in his hands. A math textbook. And a notebook. He looked up. Eyes wide. Afraid. Hopeful. Are you, her? He asked, voice trembling. She nodded slowly. He held out his notebook. Pages worn. Filled with scribbled equations. Half correct. Half lost. I saw your lectures online, he stammered. I tried to follow. But I do not get it. But I want to. She studied his face. He was like so many students she had once taught. Raw. Curious. Unrefined. But hungry. Hungry for knowledge. She reached forward. Took his notebook. Turned a page. Her finger landed on a single equation. A mistake. She looked up. This, she said softly, is where you stopped thinking for yourself. He blinked. Confused. You followed the formula, she continued. But not the logic. He opened his mouth. Then closed it. I want to learn, he whispered. She turned. Started walking back toward the house. After a moment's hesitation, he followed. Inside, the fire crackled. The room smelled of old books and pine. She handed him a pencil. Sit. And just like that. Another student. Another mind. Another spark added to the quiet revolution she was building. Back at Ridgeway College, strange things kept happening. An email would arrive in the middle of the night. No sender. Just a message. Check page 47 of the 1982 Polish Mathematics Journal. You missed something. Attached would be a scanned page. And a corrected proof. In her handwriting. A visiting professor from Tokyo received a package. Inside was a theorem he had spent 10 years developing. Perfected. Annotated. Signed ERV. The mystery deepened. Reporters chased ghosts. Tech experts tried to trace the emails. No IPs. No fingerprints. No digital trail. She was untraceable. Like wind through trees. Yet every time the world forgot, she reminded them. Quietly. Precisely. Unfailingly. And now, whispers began spreading in academic circles. She is forming something. A network? No, a school. A secret university? No one knew. But in cities across the country, Chicago, Portland, Atlanta, Denver, students began receiving letters. Not emails. Not messages. Letters. Handwritten. Each sealed with wax. Bearing the initials, ERV. Inside, instructions. Come alone. Bring your work. Tell no one. And always. A single phrase. We are not lost. We are just ahead of our time. Back in Ashridge, the young man sat by the fire. His hands smudged with graphite. His notebook full. His eyes wide with understanding. She smiled as he solved his first full proof. Clean. Flawless. Very good, she said softly. He looked up, glowing. You really are a legend, he whispered. But she shook her head. No, she said. I am just a teacher. And you are only the beginning. Then, she handed him a sealed envelope. He looked down. Confused. What is this? A name, she said. And a place. Your first student. His jaw dropped. You want me to teach? She nodded once. Her voice was firm. Unshakable. If the world will not build the future, then we will. Outside, the snow fell heavier. Blanketing the earth. Covering the past. But deep inside the woods, a new future was beginning to rise. One mind at a time. To be continued. Continue where you stop the story. Weeks passed. The snow melted. And spring crept quietly into the hills of Ashridge. The young man, Evan, no longer stumbled through formulas. He lived them. Breathed them. Every morning, he woke with questions. Every night, he slept with answers. Eleanor watched in silence. Corrected gently. Challenged relentlessly. But then, one morning, she was gone. No note. No sound. No trail. The fireplace was cold. Her shawl missing. Only one thing remained on the desk. A small black book. And a key. Evan opened the book. It contained a single sentence. If you want to find me, unlock what I locked away. Below it. Coordinates. And a name he had never heard. The Wexler Vault, Boston. 3 days later, Evan stood in the heart of Boston. Before him, a nondescript gray building. No sign. No windows. Just a door. And a keypad. He punched in the coordinates. The door clicked. Inside, dust coated everything. Metal cabinets. Crates. Torn files. A light flickered. The room smelled like forgotten knowledge. In the center sat a large steel box. On it, a lock. And an engraving. Mathematics is the language of truth. But truth needs protection. He inserted the key. The box hissed open. Inside were dozens of folders. Yellowed paper. Typed notes. Old photos. All marked. Eleanor R. Vale. Evan's hand shook. This was not just her work. It was her life. Letters from the 60s. Conference invitations. Rejection notices. One note, typed and unsigned, read: Your findings threaten established theories. Withdraw your paper or face academic blacklisting. He froze. So it was true. She had been silenced. Erased. But this vault. This was her archive. Her memory. Suddenly, a hum filled the room. A projector in the corner blinked to life. Without anyone touching it. Then, her voice. Evan, if you are hearing this. I am gone. He spun around. Her image flickered on the wall. She looked older. Tired. But determined. They tried to bury me. For decades. But I buried something of my own. She smiled faintly. A final formula. Too dangerous. Too powerful. Too disruptive. He leaned closer. I could never publish it. But now, it must live. Images appeared. Pages of dense equations. Geometries he had never seen. Patterns that felt alien. Alive. Her voice returned. This work, it is not just math. It is a key. A framework that can change how we understand physics, time, and maybe even consciousness. But it is not complete. She paused. That part is yours to finish. Then, static. The room went dark. Evan stood frozen. Heart pounding. He was holding a legacy. A truth too big for the world. And a path that only a few could follow. That night, Evan returned to Ashridge. To the quiet cottage. To the desk where it all began. He cleared the space. Laid out the formula. And began to write. Day turned to night. Night to morning. He barely noticed. Because the math was moving through him now. Like a current. Like her spirit. And when he finally stopped. He stared at what he had written. It was not just a solution. It was something else. An invitation. To every mind left unheard. Every genius left unseen. Every spark crushed by institutions. He scanned it. Encrypted it. Uploaded it to the cloud. Then he sent one email. To a list Eleanor had left behind. Only a few names. Each one marked. Capable. Silenced. Ready. The message was simple. Her work lives. The door is open. Come in. Within weeks, strange things began happening around the world. A teenage girl in Nairobi solved a problem her professor claimed was unsolvable. A janitor in Argentina published a paper under a false name. It was reviewed by 3 Nobel laureates. All 3 confirmed. It rewrote quantum theory. In rural Alaska, a retired fisherman submitted a mathematical model that predicted deep-sea tectonic shifts, weeks before a major quake. All traced back to one source. The Vale Archive. But no one knew where the archive lived. It was not hosted on public servers. No university owned it. It existed in fragments. Passed hand to hand. Shared by whispers. A new movement began. They called themselves the Inheritors. Their motto? No more silence. And somewhere, far from governments and institutions, Eleanor R. Vale, alive and watching, smiled. Because she had never disappeared. She had simply gone where they could not follow. Until now. To be continued. Continue where you stop the story. Autumn turned to winter again. And the movement grew. Not loud. Not flashy. But deliberate. Relentless. One by one, the forgotten minds emerged. People no one had ever taken seriously. A homeless veteran in Detroit. A high school dropout in Seoul. An elderly piano teacher in Prague. Each of them carrying fragments of something bigger. Each of them receiving the same anonymous message. You are not alone. The inheritors are listening. Meanwhile, Evan had disappeared. No social media. No phone. Only encrypted emails. Sent from deep servers. Untraceable. He was building something. A new platform. A learning system Eleanor had started designing decades earlier. He found her sketches in the black book. She called it the silent room. An idea born from a painful truth. That some of the brightest minds in history had only ever needed one thing. A space where no one interrupted them. Evan launched it under no official name. No branding. No ads. Just a URL. Passed quietly between students, dreamers, and thinkers. It looked simple. A black screen. A blinking cursor. And a prompt. Ask the question no one ever let you ask. The system responded. Not with answers. But with guidance. It pulled from Eleanor's archive. Her notes. Her models. Her voice. AI built on her brain. Crafted by Evan. A digital reflection of the teacher who had once been erased. Soon, strange headlines began to appear. Unknown online system solves 1974 mathematical mystery. Secret network of problem solvers begins to shake academic world. Whispers of the inheritors spark panic in elite research labs. Universities tried to block the platform. Governments tried to trace it. They failed. Because it lived nowhere. And everywhere. Distributed. Encrypted. Invincible. Back in Ashridge, the cottage remained empty. But not abandoned. Every month, a different student stayed there. They arrived quietly. Stayed for a few weeks. And left transformed. Each one tasked with passing the knowledge forward. One day, a young girl arrived. 15. Eyes sharp. Mind faster. She said nothing when she entered the house. Just looked at the walls. The boards. The formulas. And then whispered to herself. I know this language. She stayed longer than most. And when she left, she took only one thing with her. A sealed envelope. With her name. And the letters. Of. Across the ocean, a mathematics summit convened in Geneva. The brightest minds gathered. Award winners. Professors. Engineers. Leaders of tomorrow. Halfway through the keynote presentation. The lights dimmed. The projector changed. Without warning. On the screen. A rotating 3D shape. Impossible to describe. Its geometry, bending in ways the human mind struggled to accept. Then. A voice. Hers. Truth does not ask for permission. The audience froze. This model, her voice continued, contains a hidden constant. It predicts the behavior of systems once considered chaotic. Climate. Markets. Neural pathways. And maybe, even thought itself. The screen displayed her handwritten notes. Labeled the veil constant. Gasps filled the auditorium. The presenter on stage. Dr. Klein, Nobel laureate, chair of applied mathematics. Stepped back. His voice cracked. I do not understand this. A young woman from the audience stood. I do, she said quietly. I stayed in her house. I saw it. I helped finish it. She walked onto the stage. and took the marker. And in that moment, the world saw the future. Not in awards. Not in titles. But in a single girl. Holding the past and the future in one hand. Later that night, in a quiet town on the edge of nowhere, an old radio crackled to life. A broadcast, encrypted, played through hidden frequencies. Eleanor's voice, faint but clear. We are no longer waiting. We are no longer knocking. We are building a door. And walking through it. A pause. Are you ready to teach? Because now, every student would become a teacher. And every silenced voice would echo louder than any institution ever dared to allow. The revolution was not televised. It was whispered, written, solved, and shared by the inheritors. Snow fell gently over Ashridge once more. The pines stood still, cloaked in white. And the cottage, quiet, glowing softly from within, stood like a memory the world had not yet forgotten. Inside, the fireplace crackled. A new generation sat around it. 5 students. Different countries. Different ages. Different pasts. But the same fire in their eyes. They were not here to be taught. They were here to carry the torch forward. Each held a journal. Leather-bound. The initials ERV pressed into the cover. The final chapter of Eleanor Vale's life was never written on paper. It was etched into people. Passed through minds and hands. Lived, not told. No monument was built for her. No grand university ever named a hall in her honor. But in quiet corners of the world. In basements, on rooftops, in classrooms that felt too small for the minds inside them. She was everywhere. Her math. Her voice. Her vision. One of the students stood, walking to the desk. The same desk where it all began. She opened a drawer. Inside, a single envelope. She opened it carefully. And read aloud. If you are reading this, you are the final proof of everything I ever believed. That knowledge is not something to be owned. It is something to be shared. Nurtured. Protected. Do not wait for permission. Do not fear rejection. Teach those who were told they could not learn. Learn from those who were told they had nothing to teach. And when they ask where you learned all of this. She paused. Looked around the room. Smiled. Tell them, I was taught by a ghost, who never left. She placed the letter back into the drawer. The others stood. Together, they walked outside. Into the falling snow. Their footprints the only sound. Their journals clutched close. Their hearts set forward. They would scatter across the world. Not as rebels. Not as geniuses. But as teachers. Quiet. Invisible. Unstoppable. The wind blew through the trees. Softly. Like a whisper. Somewhere, it almost sounded like a voice. Like hers. Smiling. Saying. Well done. And just like that. The story ended. Not in applause. Not in headlines. But in motion. Carried endlessly forward. By those who inherited her light.